Okay, so I'm going to talk about something that might sound a little crazy, but bear with me. Sometimes it makes sense to take a step back in order to move forward. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Catherine Simone, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button because I do upload videos every Friday. Also, I need you to smash the like button because I am trying to hit 100 likes for this video and future videos. So let's get into it. I know what I said in the previous clip might seem a little weird, especially when we're often taught to keep moving forward, let the past die.
Let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
Or don't look back, but ironically, sometimes it's necessary to do just that, look back in the past. Even though we constantly tell ourselves that the past shouldn't matter as much because it's something we can't change, it's not about being able to change it, it's about being able to learn from it. And you can't learn from it if you don't revisit it in some way, shape, or form. So when I talk about taking a step back, I'm talking about revisiting something that you thought maybe you didn't need at one point, or maybe you didn't want to do at some point that you might have to do now in order to get to that next level of life and reach your goals. Now, this can be very hard for most people. One of the biggest reasons is pride. So often we let our pride dictate how we move and step within our lives. And it can seem like taking a step back is admitting that you weren't successful your first go around. It's showing that you don't know what you're doing and you think it makes you look weak or unstructured to most people, when that's not true. True strength comes from knowing when you made a mistake, knowing when you have to redo something, and knowing when that step back will help you increase to the next level. Perfect example of this is people who might have left high school and decided to get a job versus going to college. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think college is everything and it's not for everyone, but it's okay to take a step back at one point in your life and see that maybe college would have been perfect for what you want to do. Maybe once you first got out of high school, you weren't sure what you wanted to do. And since college is so expensive, you don't want to spend that money figuring it out. So you take a step back once you have a better grasp at what you want to study. That way you're not wasting time, you're not wasting money, and it helps to propel you forward on a smoother journey. I kind of got into this thought process because of a situation I found myself into recently. I actually had to take a step back into a position that I had previously left, thinking that I couldn't get anything from that position. This happened like maybe 6 months ago when I decided to leave a job that I thought I didn't need. I thought I was moving on to a better situation, to a better job. I found myself struggling. I found myself stressed and tired and depressed more often because I wasn't as comfortable in that job position for many reasons. I looked at that and I said, maybe it's time to go back. Maybe it's time to revisit a portion of my life that I thought I could leave behind. Now, I could have let my pride stop me from revisiting that time frame. I could have sat back and just been like, well, no, 'cause then everybody's gonna talk about me. They're gonna laugh at me. They're gonna look at me as like, oh, you thought you were gonna do better than us, but here you are back with us and blah, 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 blah. And if I had to let that deter me from stepping back, then I would have kept myself in a position that was not productive for my growth. And that would have only made things worse. So I had to take that pride and throw it out the window and move forward in a position that helped me do the most with what time I have now. And it worked. It made so much sense. It worked. I didn't have to deal with half the problems I thought I would going back to the job. And then honestly, I was able to pick up what I remembered from the job right away. It was important for me to let my pride subside for a minute and to do the things that needed to be done so that I could grow. So with that being said, I actually want to talk about a couple ways you can know when it's time to take a look back in order for you to move forward to reach your goals. One of the things I realized when it came time to take that step back was I found myself trying to justify the move, trying to convince myself that I was making the right decision. When you're convincing yourself that this was the right decision and you have to constantly do that on a daily or regular basis, I was at this job and I was trying to find reasons why I needed to stay at this job. And I was digging deep. And for me to have to go through all of that, it was draining. It actually added to the depression that I was feeling because I didn't actually believe those reasons. So when you get to a point like that, where you're constantly trying to convince yourself or tell yourself, oh yeah, I'm in this job because X, Y, and Z, I needed to do this, I had to do this, and it's a daily practice, then you might need to revisit how you got there and what path you can take from the past that'll redirect you out of that, if there's one available. The second thing that happened when I realized it was time for me to step back was when I found myself regretting the choice altogether. Like I said in that first example, I was trying to convince myself that this was the right idea. But then after a while, I got to a point where I just flat out regretted the choice altogether. I began to regret the idea or the mindset that I was in previously that made me make this choice. Now, for me, this is a big thing because I don't believe in regrets per se. I believe that everything is a lesson and anything we do helps propel us to that next step, because either you learn what you're not gonna do, what you are gonna do, or how to handle certain situations. So in that aspect, I did learn that from that job, but I regretted that I felt that I needed to go there in order to learn that. There was other ways that I could have had that same experience that I was cutting myself short of, wasting my time in that experience. And the third thing that helped me realize that it was time to take a step back was when taking the step back actually provided more benefits than staying where I was. It's natural for most of us to have pros and con lists. And that's pretty much what I had to put together. And at the end of the day, my pro list for going back to that job was so much longer than my con. I could have stayed where I was and figured it out, but it would have taken much more effort and time to do so. And not to say that it might not have been beneficial in the end, but if I had another route that offered me the same availability, the same flexibility, and the same benefits, plus a few more that would actually help give me the time back that I needed for all of my stuff, then it was definitely something that I needed to revisit. A lot of people dwell on trying to forget the past, understanding that we can't change the past and that we have to move forward. And I totally get that, because there is some truth in that. You can't be hung up on things you can't change. But at the same time, it is important to remember the things from your past, to remember stories and life from your past, because it actually helps you identify certain things when they present themselves again in your future. For some reason, everything in this world keeps going full circle. So a lot of times we end up in deja vu moments where we're revisiting something that we've already conquered in a sense. But the truth is, you don't conquer it fully until you get to a point where you're revisiting it and you recognize it and you don't make the same mistake that you did in the past. So it makes it easier for you to move forward and not keep repeating yourself. That's why I found that taking a step back can help you move forward. And that's why I encourage all of you to not be afraid of your past, but to acknowledge it, to recognize it, to learn from it, and to apply it when necessary. Don't be afraid to walk backwards just for a bit, just so that you can redirect at that fork in the road and go the opposite way. Thank you so much for joining me again. I am so sorry that I missed last week, but there was a lot going on. I was stressed. Like I said, just recently I had to go back to another job, and all last week was that transition from one job to the next, and I was exhausted. So I didn't really have the energy to record or edit or anything like that, but I'm back on it. So please keep coming back, keep subscribing, keep liking, and I will see you next week in a new video. Bye.